You are here, having walked down the gangplank of a ship that has brought you from Europe or the United States to the shores of the Isthmus of Panama. Your hopes are high, your pockets are light, and the lure of gold tempts you forward. Life has been hard where you come from, and the promise of a better life beckons you like a beacon. You have heard tales of the American Canal Company offering jobs that pay well, too well, some say, and of the bustling city of Colon, brimming with activity and opportunity. What you haven't heard much about is the gnawing fear that seems to linger in the air. A fear of a fever that strikes suddenly and relentlessly, turning a man's skin yellow before taking his life within days. The air around you seems to crackle with unseen dangers. The sky hangs heavy with humidity, and the jungle presses close, watching, waiting. And then there is the work, a monumental task to carve a path through the dense tropical forest. A path that will link the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans and revolutionize global trade. You have joined the throngs of workers toiling under the relentless sun. Each swing of your pickaxe or shovel adding a small stone to the massive structure that will become the Panama Canal. The air is thick with sweat and dust, and the chorus of hard labor fills the air. The rhythm of the workers is hypnotic, a testament to their strength and endurance. Every swing of the hammer, every thrust of the shovel, is a victory against the stubborn earth. A tiny triumph in the face of a challenge that seems almost insurmountable. Here, amidst the deafening silence of the jungle, broken only by the clanging of tools and the shouted orders, you find a strange camaraderie. Men from different walks of life, different countries, united by a common purpose, their differences fading into insignificance in the face of the great task at hand. But as the days turn into weeks, and the weeks into months, the reality of your situation begins to dawn on you. The jungle seems to be everywhere, encroaching, waiting to reclaim what man has so laboriously carved out of it. You catch yourself staring into the impenetrable green, wondering what secrets lie hidden within its leafy depths. You start to notice changes in yourself, inexplicable aches and chills that come and go, leaving you questioning the resilience of your own body. In the evenings, when the sun dips below the horizon and the air grows cooler, you gather with your fellow workers, sharing stories and dreams of the life you hope to build with your earnings. But even in these moments of respite, the oppressive presence of the jungle is felt. Tales of the fever of men taken in the prime of their youth are whispered around flickering lamplight. Fear becomes a constant companion, lurking just beneath the surface, ready to pounce when least expected, as you lie in your hammock at night trying to find sleep. The symphony of the jungle surrounds you, its cacophony of insects, the distant calls of nocturnal animals, all conspire to make the darkness more menacing. You can't help but wonder about the men who disappeared into the night, never to be seen again. Their absence, a chilling reminder of the price that some have paid to tame the wilderness. You are caught in a web of human ambition and natural resistance, of progress and peril. Each day you confront the indifference of the earth, molded by forces far greater than you. The dream of a canal, of a shortcut between distant seas, seems more like a mirage, a cruel joke played by nature itself. Let us shift our focus to Ferdinand de Lesseps, the man who dared to dream of cutting through the heart of the Americas. Born into privilege in 1802, Ferdinand was the son of a wealthy French family. From an early age, he showed an aptitude for languages, history, and geography, which laid the foundation for his future endeavors. He entered the prestigious National School of Administration and began his career in diplomacy. His first posting was to Egypt, where he would play a pivotal role in constructing the Suez Canal, a feat of engineering that would forever change global trade routes. After the successful completion of the Suez project, de Lesseps' reputation was made. He was celebrated as a visionary leader, a man who had bridged continents and connected cultures. However, his ambitions were far from over. Now, he set his sights on the Americas, on the audacious proposition of creating a canal across the Isthmus of Panama. Ferdinand was not just a diplomat, he was a dreamer, a man who saw possibilities where others saw only impassable obstacles. His vision of the Panama Canal as a global marvel was matched only by his determination to make it a reality. But Ferdinand's story was not without its shadows. Throughout his career, accusations of financial impropriety followed him like a persistent fog. Critics questioned his methods, his ethics, and his motives. painting him as a shrewd manipulator who used his charm and charisma to secure personal gain. Despite the controversies that swirled around him, Ferdinand pressed on, driven by an insatiable curiosity and a desire to unlock the secrets of the natural world. He assembled a team of experts, scientists, doctors, and engineers, and delved into the heart of the isthmus. Under his guidance, they labored to solve the medical mysteries that had plagued previous attempts. Seeking solutions in the realms of science and medicine, while Ferdinand unlocked the secrets of the earth, another battle was raging within the walls of the Explorers Club. Ferdinand's critics, a mix of professional rivals and members of high society, watched his every move, ready to pounce on any misstep. They whispered doubts, spreading rumors that could derail his project and tarnish his legacy. But Ferdinand, undeterred, continued his quest, driven by the thrill of discovery and the allure of the unknown. Now we turn our attention to a different facet of this narrative, the perplexing enigma of yellow fever. This deadly disease loomed over the canal project like a vengeful spirit, claiming lives and casting long shadows of fear and uncertainty. The fever seemed to be everywhere, striking down workers and derailing progress. No one understood its origins, its triggers, or its cures. The year is 1878, and you are a doctor working at the French Panama Canal Company clinic. Each day brings new patients, men stricken with a mysterious illness that quickly turns their skin an alarming yellow, leading to their untimely demise. You and your fellow doctors are baffled. The prevailing theory attributes the sickness to the stagnant waters of the canal, which breed mosquitoes and spread disease. There is talk of miasma, a poisonous night air that supposedly pervades the marshes. Your days are filled with treating patients, trying to alleviate their suffering, and searching for answers in medical texts and the wisdom of your colleagues. With each passing day, the death toll rises, and fear grips the hearts of the workers. As the number of sick and dying grows, so does the sense of helplessness. The lack of understanding, the feeling of being outgunned by an invisible enemy, is disheartening. There is a growing tension in the air, a mixture of desperation and fear. People are looking for solutions, for someone to unravel the mystery of yellow fever. You and your fellow doctors are under immense pressure to find answers, to develop a cure, or at least understand the nature of this relentless disease. As the narrative progresses, we see the efforts to combat yellow fever intensify. Scientists from around the world are brought in, bringing with them different ideas and approaches. Microscopy reveals the presence of a virus, marking a significant step in understanding the disease. Preventive measures such as quarantine and sanitation are implemented, reflecting a growing awareness of disease transmission. The atmosphere shifts from one of confusion and fear to cautious optimism, as the link between mosquitoes and the disease becomes clearer. The fight against yellow fever takes a monumental turn with the introduction of the phrase mosquito-proof into the scientific lexicon. This concept becomes the cornerstone of strategies to control the disease, marking a pivotal moment in the battle against this relentless adversary. Finally, let us explore the life of a governor during the canal's construction. Picture yourself in the heart of the bustling city of Colon, the seat of the French Panama Canal Company, where power, privilege, and intrigue intertwine. Your position as the governor's wife places you at the epicenter of this colonial world. Life in Colon was a study in contrasts, while the streets teemed with merchants, laborers, and adventurers from all corners of the globe. The heart of the city was a world unto itself. Lush gardens surrounded your home, shielding you from the outside world and providing a sanctuary of tranquility. Within the house, elegance and luxury awaited. Rich wood paneling adorned the walls, polished to reflect the light streaming through expansive windows. Exotic woods from distant lands, prized for their beauty and durability, were used to craft exquisite furniture. The very air you breathed was perfumed, carried on the gentle breeze from exotic blooms cultivated in the extensive gardens that surrounded your residence. Outside your home, the rhythmic pulse of life in Colon resonated. The clatter of carts and the murmur of languages mingled with the haunting strains of a distant band. But beyond the comforting confines of your elegant abode, the harsh realities of the canal's construction loomed. The unrelenting heat and humidity pressed down on the city, a constant reminder of the challenges faced by those toiling to tame the wilderness. Still, the social scene was vibrant. Balls and parties were the order of the day, a whirl of silk and laughter that momentarily lifted the spirits. Music echoed through the grand halls of the officers' club, mingling with the clinking of glasses and the murmur of polite conversation. These evenings were your respite, a chance to shed the weight of your responsibilities and immerse yourself in the beauty of the music. The art alone was a spectacle. Paintings of lush jungles and scenes from local life adorned the walls, capturing the essence of a world far removed from your privileged existence. And yet, despite the opulence that surrounded you, a sense of unease lingered. News of the fever's relentless march through the work camps reached even your secluded world. It was a grim specter that haunted the edges of your luxurious life. Couldn't help but wonder about the workers, their struggles, and their fates. All around you, life in Colon went on. Street vendors hawked their wares, children played in the bustling marketplaces, and the aroma of spices and exotic foods filled the air. But in the quiet moments, when the sounds of the city faded away, you couldn't shake off a growing disquiet. The fever was a constant shadow, a reminder of the fragility of life in this untamed wilderness. As you look out over the bustling city of Colon, the weight of your existence in this colonial paradise settles upon you. You are caught in a world of privilege and peril, where the luxuries of an opulent life are juxtaposed with the harsh realities of a fever-ridden frontier. This is the end of part 4. If you liked this episode, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe, and thank you for joining me on this journey through time. Until next time. In the annals of history, few names resonate with the blend of grandeur and tragedy that surrounds. John F. Slattery, born into modest beginnings in 1826 on St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands, Slattery's journey was marked by ambition, innovation, and a relentless pursuit of progress. His story is a testament to human resilience and the audacity of dreams, but also a cautionary tale of hubris and the unforeseen consequences of unchecked ambition. His formal education was limited, but he was a voracious reader, and from a young age, Slattery developed a deep interest in engineering and geography. This passion led him to pursue opportunities in the field, working initially on small projects that allowed him to hone his skills and gain recognition. By the mid-1800s, Slattery had gained a reputation as a capable engineer, leading to a pivotal moment in his career when he was tasked with designing a lighthouse on the island of Puerto Rico. It was during this assignment that Slattery's gaze turned toward Nicaragua. At the time, Nicaragua was recovering from the devastation of a recent war, and its economy was hampered by the need to transport goods around its extensive but narrow isthmus. Slattery recognized an opportunity. He envisioned a canal that could traverse the nation, thereby offering a quicker route between the Pacific and Atlantic coasts. His idea was revolutionary, a shortcut that could shave off days from the arduous journey around South America. But Slattery's ambitions didn't stop at Nicaragua. His sights were set on the Isthmus of Panama, a region that intrigued him due to its dense jungles and challenging terrain. What if, he wondered, the vast riches of the East could be unlocked by a man-made waterway cutting through this rugged landscape? It was a bold proposition, one that would forever alter the course of his life and leave an indelible mark on history. To bring his dream to life, Slattery needed backing. He returned to the United States and embarked on a mission to secure financial support for his proposed canal. However, his journey to secure funding proved to be fraught with challenges. Despite the allure of his idea, investors were hesitant, and after several attempts to raise capital, Slattery found himself back in Nicaragua, his dreams seemingly stalled. Undeterred, he shifted focus to the Nicaraguan Canal, pouring his energy and resources into making that project a reality. But fate had a different path in mind for Slattery. Meanwhile, in France, another visionary, Ferdinand de Lesseps, was championing his own canal project. De Lesseps, a seasoned diplomat and engineer, had already made a name for himself by overseeing the construction of the Suez Canal in Egypt. With the Suez Canal project a success, de Lesseps turned his attention to the Americas. Inspired by similar ideas, he too had become enamored with the potential of a transisthmian canal, and had begun to rally French support and investment for a canal in Panama. De Lesseps's approach was meticulous. He assembled a team of experts to conduct feasibility studies, surveying the land, analyzing the terrain, and assessing the logistical challenges. Unlike Slattery, de Lesseps was able to secure substantial financial backing from the French government and private investors. With the funds in place, he established the French Canal Company and set about transforming his vision into a tangible reality. The groundwork for the Panama Canal was laid in 1881 and work commenced. But the undertaking soon encountered formidable obstacles. The dense jungle, the diverse terrain, and the threat posed by yellow fever presented unprecedented challenges. Despite these setbacks, de Lesseps pressed on, driven by a combination of national pride, personal ambition, and a genuine belief in the canal's importance. On December 18, 1888, after nearly a decade of tireless effort, the French laid the last rail of the Panama Railroad. Connecting the Atlantic and Pacific coasts of Panama, it was a momentous occasion marking a significant triumph of engineering and a testament to human perseverance. Unfortunately, the railroad was beset by operational problems from the start. There were frequent breakdowns, missed connections, and delays, all of which frustrated passengers and raised concerns about the reliability of this vital link. Despite the railway's struggles, news of its completion sent ripples of excitement around the globe. It was seen as a marvel of modern engineering and a symbol of progress and globalization. However, as time went on, it became clear that the Panama Railroad was not living up to its initial promise. The financial strain on the company was immense. The cost of maintaining the railroad, coupled with the low returns on investment, cast a long shadow over its future. As the financial strain mounted, the Panama Railroad faced a critical juncture. The dream of a transisthmian canal that had inspired the creation of the railroad was now teetering on the brink of collapse. The financial burden was heavy, and the future of the canal, along with the hopes of a quicker passage between the oceans, hung in the balance. The Panama Railroad Company found itself at a crossroads. Its finances were in sharp decline, and the viability of the entire canal project was under threat. The dream of a transisthmian shortcut, once so vibrant, was now dimming. Enter the United States, a nation with growing interests in global trade and a strategic vision that saw the canal's importance in connecting the Pacific and Atlantic fleets. The U.S. recognized the strategic value of a canal and the potential it held for boosting trade and military mobility. Negotiations ensued, ultimately leading to the Habunau-Varilla Treaty in 1903, by which the United States acquired control of the Panama Canal Zone. With the backing of the United States, the canal project was revived. This time under the supervision of the newly created Panama Canal Commission headed by John F. Stevens. The Americans brought with them new techniques, fresh capital, and a determination to overcome the obstacles that had stymied the French. Under the leadership of Colonel George W. Goethals, they implemented innovative strategies to combat disease, improve engineering, and maintain order. However, the task ahead was daunting. The French had left behind not just an unfinished canal, but also a legacy of hardship, including a workforce ravaged by disease and a reputation for danger. Nonetheless, with renewed vigor, the Americans set about completing the monumental task. They tackled the challenges head-on, devising ingenious solutions to problems that had previously seemed insurmountable. One of the most significant challenges was the issue of malaria and yellow fever, which had decimated the French workforce. The Commission took swift action, enlisting the services of William Crawford Gorgas, physician who pioneered mosquito control campaigns. Through a series of public health measures, including the spraying of insecticides, the establishment of quarantine zones, and the elimination of mosquito breeding grounds, Gorgas dramatically reduced the incidence of these deadly diseases. The impact on the workforce was immediate and profound. Workers could now perform their duties without the constant fear of contracting deadly diseases. This marked a turning point in the history of the canal. With disease under control, the focus shifted to the massive engineering challenges. The heart of the project was the Culebra Cut, an 8-mile-long channel that would connect Gatun Lake to the Pacific Ocean. Here the Americans employed innovative techniques such as the use of steam shovels, dredges, and the building of parallel levees to keep the waters at bay while excavation work continued. These methods dramatically increased the pace of construction, allowing the canal to take shape at a much faster rate. Another major hurdle was the construction of the Gatun Dam. This massive structure would create a 100-foot-high reservoir, providing the necessary water levels to facilitate ships passing through the canal. The dam's construction involved intricate engineering feats, including the installation of massive gates and the creation of a powerhouse to generate electricity. As the years passed, the canal began to resemble its intended form. The Gatun Dam was completed. Gatun Lake was formed, and the first ships transited the newly dug channel. It was a testament to human ingenuity and the unwavering spirit of those who dared to dream of a world connected by water. For Slattery, however, the culmination of this monumental undertaking came too late to share in its glory. He died in 1897, 16 years before the canal's opening. His dream having been realized, yet his name fading from the historical record. The Panama Canal stands as a beacon of human achievement, a feat of engineering that has reshaped global trade and travel. Yet within its depths lie the stories of countless individuals who toiled, dreamed, and perished in its creation. From the laborers who faced the unforgiving jungle to visionaries like Slattery and F. de Lesseps, each played a part in bringing this wonder to life. Slattery's story serves as a reminder of the complexities of history, where dreams of progress can intertwine with ambition and sometimes overshadow the contributions of those who dared to imagine a world connected by water. Thanks for watching. Imagine the year 1881. You're a worker on the French Canal project in Panama. Your days are long and hard, swinging a pick or shovel in the stifling heat. Around you, colleagues fall ill, and the numbers seem to grow. You've heard stories of yellow fever before, but now it's closer, more real than ever. When it hits you, you feel chills, weakness, and then darkness. You wake up in a hospital tent, your skin stained yellow, your body racked with pain. Even your own sweat seems alien. You know you're close to death, and there's nothing to be done. This, too, happened to workers on the Suez Canal and those before them in earlier attempts at a Panamanian canal. It took decades to conquer this unseen foe, longer to truly understand it. But today, thanks to modern science and global health efforts, we can prevent, treat, and even eradicate the diseases that devastated these workers. From the past, this is real engineering, and today we're looking back at disease and the race to build the Panama Canal. Before digging, much consideration was given to where a canal should be located. The obvious choice seemed to be Nicaragua, but studies found its Lake Nicaragua, while large enough, had unstable waters and shifting sands. So instead, France looked to Panama. With a shorter route and higher elevation, the French felt confident in their choice. Still, disease already raged through the region. In the 16th century, conquistadors reported entire villages wiped out by sudden sickness. During the cholera epidemic of the 1850s, over 20,000 people died in Panama alone. Then came the gold rush, which spurred American interest in a canal. Dr. Nathan Andrews, part of a U.S. commission in the area, treated many soldiers for malaria and yellow fever. While most believed the disease was spread by swamp miasma, Andrews and some others suspected something more. Despite the theory being widely accepted, Andrews' concerns went unheard. The army sent him home, and he died of yellow fever on the journey. The Lesseps, busy with the Suez Canal, didn't help matters. He had limited knowledge of tropical diseases and Panama's environment. He also didn't heed warnings from previous expeditions and ignored medical advice. One notable voice was Dr. Charles Lanier, who recommended postponing construction due to disease. But de Lesseps pushed on, aiming to finish the canal in 10 years. The plan was ambitious and dangerous. Tearing through Panama's landscape would be hard enough, but the impact on workers' health could be catastrophic. By 1882, a group of 16 American doctors made an important observation. They noted that yellow fever appeared in epidemics, always striking after a similar disease called West African fever, now known as dengue. This link remained a mystery for almost 30 years until Dr. James Carroll made a breakthrough. Studying mosquitoes near Philadelphia, he observed them feeding on patients with yellow fever. Carroll's experiments led to a shocking realization. Mosquitoes were transmitting yellow fever by carrying the virus from infected to healthy individuals. This discovery solved a decades-long puzzle and provided a way to combat the disease. The key to ending the outbreak lay in understanding the enemy. Unlike malaria, where symptoms lingered for weeks, yellow fever hit quickly and violently. Some patients improved after a week, but the majority deteriorated rapidly, showing signs like jaundice, bleeding, and kidney problems. Doctors struggled to find a cure, often resorting to bloodletting, which weakened patients further. There was no consistent treatment until Dr. William Friedenwald introduced plasma transfusions, offering some hope for survival. Conquering the mosquito became crucial. Scientists knew that breeding grounds needed to be destroyed, but how to do this on a massive scale? Well, the solution was more simple than expected. Mosquitoes lay eggs in stagnant water, and regular flooding could disrupt their life cycle. French engineer Paul Mouchet came up with a plan to control mosquitoes in sections of the canal by flooding forests. But he faced skepticism from both scientists and superiors. Many argued that flooding would damage equipment and delay construction. But as the death toll rose, the idea gained attention. In 1905, the French began a pilot project, flooding areas near the Gatun Lake Reservoir. While initially effective, the results were not immediate. After 2 months, cases actually increased, frustrating everyone involved. However, by February 1906, when almost 10,000 people were flooded, the epidemic peaked. Cases began to drop, and by July, the situation stabilized. The French used this success to press on, flooding more areas and gaining ground against the mosquitoes. But their effort was not without cost. One of the mainstays of the fight was Dr. William Gorgas, who relentlessly pursued mosquito eradication. His work and dedication won praise, but it was too late for him. He contracted yellow fever and died in 1920. Despite this loss, the lessons learned during the French effort laid the foundation for the U.S. takeover. President Theodore Roosevelt was eager to secure the canal and improve relations with Colombia. With the country controlling Panama, with a new focus on prevention and mosquito control, the Americans set about finishing the job. One of the biggest changes was in leadership. John F. Stevens, a veteran engineer, took charge of construction. He focused on training and safety, building hospitals and housing, and appointing experts like entomologist Fred Soper. Under Stevens' leadership, workers numbered around 10,000 at any time. With strict controls to limit disease outbreaks, Culebra Cut, one of the most challenging areas, was kept free of stagnant water to limit mosquito breeding. As the project progressed, Americans discovered valuable allies in the local population. They hired indigenous guides who knew the terrain and the diseases. Their insight helped workers better prepare, offering a sense of hope. Finally, in 1914, after years of work, the canal opened. It was a triumph of engineering and perseverance, but the true victory was against the unseen foe. Mosquito control and public health measures had made the area habitable. No longer was the canal cursed, but the struggle wasn't over. The next 50 years saw efforts to fully eradicate yellow fever and other diseases. Vaccines were tested, new drugs were researched, and global awareness grew. Today, thanks to these efforts, the threat of yellow fever has largely receded, but the lessons learned in Panama live on. Panamanian disease taught us not just about the power of nature, but the strength of global cooperation. We learned that progress isn't always linear. Sometimes it means starting over, adapting, and even failing. But with each setback, we gain deeper insights and a better understanding of the world around us. And most importantly, we discovered the silent heroes behind our triumphs. The doctors, researchers, and countless others who worked tirelessly in the shadows to protect human progress. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you want to support the channel, please consider becoming a patron. Your support helps bring these videos to a wider audience. Thank you for watching. Imagine living in the Panama of the 1880s. You've come here for a new start, perhaps seeking fortune or a fresh chapter in your story. Your home is a house nestled in the lush, verdant hills above the canal works.
Life here is a gentler pace than down in the depths of the diggings. Days pass in warm breezes and tranquil evenings.
Servants fan you as you dine, and nights bring the symphony of crickets and tree frogs. Yet there's an undercurrent. In the quiet hours, you hear whispers of a yellow fever that haunts the lowlands, draining the strength from workers and leaving death in its wake. You might see officials arriving from the United States, some bearing hopeful plans, others bringing stern warnings. One name echoes through the colony: yellow fever. Is it something to be endured or fought? This is the quandary facing many in the Panama of the 1880s, and for the privileged few, there's the option of escape. That is, if they choose to act before the disease claims the heights. The question of whether to stay or go is a dilemma faced by many Americans in Panama during the 1880s, a time when the country is grappling with the challenges of building the canal. For those fortunate enough to reside in the higher elevations, it's a more personal decision. It's about balancing the allure of a tropical paradise with the specter of a deadly disease lurking below. It's a stark contrast to the grueling existence of the workers down in the canal zone. But it's a privilege not without its anxieties. The allure of Panama is undeniable. Lush vegetation, balmy weather, and the promise of adventure draw many to its shores. However, as the yellow fever epidemic intensifies, the serenity of life in the highlands is overshadowed by the specter of the disease. It's a reality that seeps into conversations, shaping decisions and casting a pall over social gatherings. The fear is palpable, a ticking clock that hangs over every social interaction. Staying means confronting this threat head-on, leaving means abandoning the dream, perhaps forever. The choice is agonizing and deeply personal. It's a question of how much risk one is willing to accept for the sake of an elusive dream. The arrival of American soldiers in Panama marks a pivotal moment, signaling a shift in the narrative. The United States was stepping into a quagmire of disease, engineering challenges, and political intrigue. Yet, with the coming of the troops, there is a sense of order amidst the chaos. The soldiers, however, were not just pawns in a political game. They were also fellow human beings striving to make a better life for themselves and contribute to a larger purpose. Their daily routines were a testament to this. Soldiers went about their duties, drilling, building, and maintaining structures. Yet, even in the midst of these tasks, there was a constant awareness of the looming threat of yellow fever. Life in the camp wasn't just about duty, it was also about survival. Every mosquito bite was noted, every fever carefully monitored. Life was a tightrope walk between duty and disease. The arrival of the American troops brings with it a blend of hope and trepidation. The hope is for stability and progress in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. The trepidation stems from the reality that, even in this moment of transition, the specter of yellow fever continues to loom. The soldiers, despite their training and discipline, are not immune to the fear that permeates every aspect of life in Panama. In the stifling heat of the Panama jungle, two figures stand amidst the tangle of trees and undergrowth. One is a seasoned French engineer, a veteran of the earlier attempts to tame the canal route. The other is a young American officer, his face reflecting the determination and naivety common to those embarking on new frontiers. Between them lies the heart of the problem, a jungle that refuses to yield. Theirs is a conversation not just about engineering feats, but about the realities of life and death in this unforgiving terrain. The French engineer speaks of dreams deferred, of lives lost to the elements and the disease. The American officer listens, his youthful idealism tempered by the weight of what he's hearing. This meeting in the heart of the jungle symbolizes the transfer of knowledge and perspectives that marked the shift from the French to the American era of the canal project. The older engineer embodies the past, burdened by the losses and setbacks that have come to define the French experience. The younger American officer represents the future, carrying with him the hopes and resources of a new power determined to succeed where others have failed. Their conversation is a bridge between two eras, a recognition that to conquer the jungle, one must understand and learn from both its allure and its perils. As the sun sets over the Panama Canal, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment. Americans have taken the reins, but the ghosts of the past linger, reminding us that progress comes at a cost. From the fever-ridden jungles to the high command centers, the story of the canal is one of ambition, loss, and resilience. We've seen the highs and lows, the dreams and the sacrifices, and we stand poised on the edge of a new chapter, ready to dive deeper into the saga of this monumental feat of engineering. Join me as we delve further into the annals of history, uncovering more stories that shaped this iconic waterway. What new revelations await us? What fresh challenges lie ahead? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, the journey through Panama's past has just begun. The year is 1906, and the United States is in the midst of constructing the Panama Canal. Work is progressing steadily, and soon the waterway will be completed and open to traffic. But what was life like for the men who made it possible? We've explored the hardships of the workers, the engineering marvels, and the disease outbreaks before. But today, we're going to tell the story of the governors of the Canal Zone. What was their life like? How did they govern? And how did they cope with the challenges of creating a new society in the middle of the jungle? Join us as we explore the lesser-known story of the elite few who ran the Panama Canal. Now let's talk about how the governors were selected and the kind of power they held. Well, the governors of the Canal Zone were appointed directly by the U.S. President, and they held significant power and responsibility. As the chief executives of the Canal Zone, they were in charge of maintaining law and order, overseeing the construction work and ensuring that the canal was completed on time and within budget. They had to deal with various stakeholders, including the French company that was originally building the canal, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and the many foreign workers who were employed in the construction. In terms of the duration of their service, the length of a governor's term varied depending on the needs of the government and the progress of the canal's construction. Some governors served for several years, while others only stayed for a year or two. One of the most important aspects of a governor's job was to maintain law and order in the Canal Zone. This was particularly challenging considering the diverse workforce that was employed in the construction of the canal, which included people from all over the world. There were African Americans, West Indians, Chinese, Filipinos, as well as people from France, Spain, and Italy. The governors had to ensure that all of these people could work together effectively and peacefully despite their differences. To do this, they implemented policies that promoted racial segregation, such as banning interracial marriage and requiring different races to use separate facilities. They also established a segregated military force to maintain order and protect the canal from external threats. Despite these measures, there were still instances of racial tension and violence in the Canal Zone. For example, in 1905, a riot broke out between black and white workers in the town of Gatun. The governors had to intervene to restore order and prevent further violence. Another challenge that the governors faced was the constant threat of disease in the Canal Zone. The tropical climate and poor sanitation conditions made the area a breeding ground for diseases such as malaria, yellow fever, and cholera. These diseases killed thousands of workers and threatened to derail the construction of the canal. The governors took steps to address this issue by establishing a health department and implementing public health measures, such as mosquito control and improved sanitation. However, these measures were often met with resistance from the workers, who saw them as an infringement on their rights and a waste of resources. Despite these challenges, the governors were successful in completing the Panama Canal on time and within budget. The canal opened to traffic in 1914 and was a major accomplishment for the United States. It was a testament to the hard work and sacrifice of the many people who had come before them, and the governors played an important role in making it happen. Moving on, let's discuss the living conditions for the governors and the amenities they enjoyed. So the governors of the Canal Zone lived in comfortable homes that were designed to withstand the tropical climate. These homes were typically located on elevated lots with spacious porches and balconies to take advantage of the natural beauty of the surrounding jungle. The homes were equipped with modern conveniences such as electricity, plumbing, and air conditioning, which helped to make life more bearable in the hot and humid climate. Additionally, the governors had access to exclusive amenities such as golf courses, tennis courts, and swimming pools. These amenities were meant to help them relax and enjoy their time in the Canal Zone. However, the governors' homes were not immune to the challenges of living in the jungle. The homes were often plagued by insects and rodents. The governors had to take measures to protect themselves from disease and other health hazards. Despite these challenges, the governors' homes were considered to be some of the most luxurious and desirable places to live in the Canal Zone. They were a symbol of the American government's commitment to making the canal project a success, and they provided the governors with the comfort and convenience they needed to do their jobs effectively. Next, let's discuss the food available to the governors. The governors of the Panama Canal enjoyed a variety of food options that were typically not available to the average worker. They had access to fresh fruits and vegetables from local markets, as well as imported goods from the United States. This meant that they could enjoy a wide range of culinary delights, including delicacies that were not commonly found in the jungle. The governors' menus often featured dishes made with ingredients such as lobster, steak, and imported cheeses. Additionally, they had access to a variety of imported wines and other beverages that were not available to the general public. Overall, the governors' diets were significantly more varied and nutritious than those of the average workers who typically had to make do with more basic fare. Finally, we'll talk about how the governors managed to stay connected with the United States. The governors of the Canal Zone had several ways to stay connected with the United States. First, they had access to newspapers and magazines that were shipped from the U.S. on a regular basis. These publications provided them with news and information about current events back home, as well as entertainment and cultural content. Additionally, the governors could communicate with family and friends in the U.S. through letters and telegraphs. However, communication was slow, and it could take weeks for a message to reach its destination. The governors also had access to telephones that allowed them to speak with people in the U.S. The U.S. Postal Service operated a cable car system that connected the governors' homes to the main post office in Panama City. Through this system, the governors could send and receive messages that were delivered within hours instead of weeks. Lastly, the governors could travel back to the U.S. whenever they wanted to do so. They simply had to take a steamship from the nearest port to one of the major U.S. cities. Although the journey was long and arduous, it was still an option that was available to the governors that the average worker did not have. And there you have it, a glimpse into the lives of the governors of the Canal Zone. Their role was a difficult one, balancing the demands of the project with the need to maintain order and keep everyone safe. They had to deal with a multitude of challenges, from disease outbreaks to labor unrest to keeping the project on schedule and within budget. But they also had access to certain perks, such as comfortable housing, good food, and the ability to stay connected with the U.S. While their lives were certainly not easy, they played an important role in the history of the Panama Canal and helped to make the dream of a trans-Isthmian waterway a reality. Now, we want to hear from you. What surprised you the most about the lives of the governors of the Panama Canal? Let us know in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more historical tales. And with that, thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. The man-made waterway connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans across Panama has been called one of the modern world's greatest engineering achievements. But how exactly does it work? Hi everyone. Hi there. This is the presenter. Welcome to the series where we uncover the science behind the amazing things that our world has to offer. The Panama Canal is a series of 8 man-made locks that allow ships to travel between the two oceans, despite the mountainous terrain that would otherwise block their path. But how do these locks work? What happens when they fail? And how does the entire system function without sinking? It's time for some big questions and bigger answers. Let's dive right in. Located in the country of Panama, the Panama Canal is an artificial waterway built during the early 20th century by the United States and was completed in 1914. It was originally called the Panama Canal Zone and was operated by the U.S. until 1978. In 1999, it was transferred to Panamanian control under a treaty signed in 1977. The idea of cutting across Panama to link the east and west coasts of the Americas goes back hundreds of years. However, the French started the first serious effort in the 1880s, but soon abandoned it due to engineering difficulties, including the dense jungle, the terrain, and disease. After several attempts to revive the project in the late 19th century, the United States took over construction in 1904 and finished the canal 10 years later. Since then, the canal has grown in importance as a major global trade route. In 2016, a new set of locks was built parallel to the original locks and opened up the capacity of the canal. The new locks are larger and more efficient than the old ones. They also have a different design that allows them to save more water. Here's how the entire system works. Water flows from the Gatun Lake through a system of canals and locks to the Pacific Ocean. On the Atlantic side, there is a dam that controls the flow of water into the canal. There are 3 sets of locks that raise ships from sea level to the Gatun Lake. The first lock is the Pedro Miguel Lock, which raises ships about 85 feet or 26 meters. From there, the ships travel through the Gatun Lake, which is 85 feet or 26 meters above sea level. The lake serves as a reservoir for the canal and provides water for the locks. The water in the lake is also used to generate electricity for the Panama Canal. Ships then pass through the Gatun Lake and enter the next set of locks, which lower them to the same elevation as the lake. The final lock on the Atlantic side is the Gatun Locks, which lowers ships to sea level. On the Pacific side, the ships are raised in 3 locks to the elevation of the lake. The first lock is the Miraflores Lock, which raises ships about 65 feet or 20 meters. Then comes the Pedro Miguel Lock, which raises ships another 65 feet or 20 meters. Finally, the ships are raised the remaining 65 feet or 20 meters in the Toboga Lock. The water used in the Pacific locks comes from the Madden Reservoir, which is connected to the Gatun Lake. Once the ships reach the top of the locks, they enter the Culebra Cut, which is a 51-mile or 82-kilometer channel that connects the two sides of the canal. The water in the Culebra Cut is kept at the same level as the Gatun Lake to prevent ships from hitting the bottom of the cut. The canal also has several other features, such as a hospital, schools, a fire station, and other buildings. These were built to support the workers who operate and maintain the canal. The Panama Canal consists of three sections: the Gatun Lake, the Culebra Cut, and the three sets of locks on each coast. The Gatun Lake is a man-made reservoir created by the Gatun Dam on the Chogres River. It covers an area of approximately 340 square miles or 880 square kilometers. The lake serves as a water source for the canal and provides a resting place for ships traveling through the waterway. The Culebra Cut is a 51-mile or 82-kilometer long channel that connects the Gatun Lake to the Pacific Ocean. It was excavated through a narrow isthmus that joins North and South America. The channel is about 300 feet or 91 meters wide and 18 feet or 5.5 meters deep. It was originally planned to be part of a French canal project in the 1880s, but the French abandoned the project due to technical difficulties and financial losses. The United States took over the project in 1904 and completed the canal 10 years later. Today, the Culebra Cut remains an essential part of the Panama Canal, allowing ships to pass from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean without having to go around the southern tip of South America. The three sets of locks on either side of the canal are used to raise and lower ships from one elevation to another. Each lock is about 1,000 feet or 305 meters long and 110 feet or 34 meters wide. And the locks are filled with water from the Gatun Lake and are used to raise ships from sea level to the lake's elevation and vice versa. The water level in each lock is controlled by a set of gates that regulate the flow of water in and out of the lock. Once a ship enters a lock, the gates are closed and water is released from the upper or lower level to fill the lock and raise or lower the ship accordingly. When the ship reaches the desired elevation, the gates are opened and the ship proceeds to the next lock in the sequence. The entire process is controlled by a sophisticated system of locks, dams, and reservoirs that ensure the safe and efficient passage of ships through the canal. This system requires a constant supply of water and precise control of water levels to ensure the smooth operation of the locks. The Panama Canal Authority, the government agency responsible for managing the canal, uses a complex network of pumps, valves, and sensors to regulate the flow of water and maintain the necessary levels. Additionally, the canal has a number of emergency systems in place to deal with unexpected events such as power outages or mechanical failures. These systems include backup generators, manual controls, and procedures for evacuating ships from the locks in the event of an emergency. The Panama Canal is a remarkable feat of engineering and a vital global trade route. Its intricate system of locks, dams, and reservoirs allows ships to traverse the Isthmus of Panama efficiently and safely. Despite the challenges of operating such a complex system, the Panama Canal Authority has successfully managed the canal for over a century, ensuring the safe and efficient passage of ships and contributing to the growth of global trade. In 2016, the Panama Canal went through a major upgrade. 2 new sets of locks were built parallel to the existing locks. The new locks are bigger and more efficient than the old ones, and allow for larger ships to pass through the canal. This expansion project was completed on time and under budget, demonstrating the commitment of the Panamanian government to maintaining the canal's position as a vital global trade route. But what if something goes wrong? What happens if a ship runs into a lock? If a ship collides with a lock, the impact could cause significant damage to the structure. The ship's hull may be breached, causing it to sink or leak. The lock gates could also be damaged, leading to a breach in the watertight seal of the lock system. In the event of a collision, several measures are taken to mitigate the damage. The Panama Canal Authority has established protocols for dealing with accidents and incidents that occur within the canal's waterways. These protocols include procedures for evacuating ships from the locks, as well as protocols for repairing damage to the canal infrastructure. Additionally, the canal's emergency response team is trained to respond quickly and effectively to any accidents or incidents that may occur. The team is equipped with specialized equipment and resources to assist with search and rescue operations, as well as to contain any environmental damage that may result from a collision. Furthermore, the canal has insurance policies in place to cover any damages or losses that may occur as a result of a collision. These insurance policies help to ensure that the canal's operations are not disrupted and that any affected parties are compensated for their losses. Overall, while collisions within the Panama Canal are rare, the canal's management team is prepared to handle such incidents effectively and minimize any potential damage to the canal or its users. So that's how the Panama Canal works. How many ships go through the canal every day? Over 14,000 vessels transit the canal each year. On average, 100 ships pass through the canal daily. That's almost 5 ships per hour. And each ship carries thousands of tons of cargo, whether it's oil, grain, or manufactured goods. The canal is a vital part of the global economy and plays a crucial role in connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. But the canal isn't just for cargo ships. Cruise ships also use the canal to travel between the two oceans. It's a popular destination for cruise ships to stop on their way to and from the Caribbean. In fact, every single cruise line that sails to the Caribbean uses the Panama Canal. It's a unique experience for passengers to see this man-made wonder up close. Thanks to the Panama Canal, ships can travel between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans without having to go around the southern tip of South America. This saves time and fuel, making it an important route for global trade. But the canal is more than just an engineering marvel. It's a vital part of the global economy and a testament to the ingenuity of those who built it. If you enjoyed this episode and want to learn more about amazing things that our world has to offer, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to get notified when new episodes are released. And be sure to leave a comment below to let me know what you found most fascinating about the Panama Canal. You can also check out my social media channels for more updates. So join me on this incredible journey of discovery and never stop exploring the world around you. Until next time, keep asking questions and never stop exploring. See you soon.